Well, they'll know plenty more about Seattle Kraken in the next year or two. That is absolutely for sure. Welcome in to our preview center here in Seattle Center. I'm Ross Fletcher. Alongside me, Tod Leiweke, CEO of Seattle Kraken.
Fantastic.
It's great to see you.
Thank you.
We're going to ask you a few questions here about the origins, you know, the name. We've heard from Adidas, who've worked tirelessly with you and your other partners on this project to bring this all to life. And the embodiment is here now. Tell me about the name. Why Seattle Kraken?
Well, some of this starts with our owner. And, you know, I get to be on camera, but we have a phenomenal owner, a guy named David Bonderman, who wanted to build this right. And when I first met with him and talked to him about coming back home, he talked about building something special and unique around the fans. And so, you know, we thought we were going to start in 2020. So by pushing it off a year, we had a little more time to listen. And I know people felt that we were running behind or somehow we were late. We were going to measure twice and cut once. And so the ability to listen, and we really decided we were going to be a brilliant listening organization. Because if you listen to your fans, and you really hear what they're saying. And it wasn't just, hey, what do you think the team name should be? They'd submit names and they'd offer up names and we'd say, what does it mean? What does it feel like? What is the jersey? And that was the most important part of this process, because once we really started building that pipeline into our fans of not just big surveys and focus groups, but one-on-one contact, and really turn the organization into a listening organization, we could then turn loose Adidas and Perch Partners and the pros and many people on our staff to say, let's get this right. So thus we said, hey, it's not going to be a cartoon. It's going to be something that stands for some nobility. It's going to be a classic S. It harkens back to the Seattle Metropolitans. The colors, they're unique in the NHL, but they're authentic to where we live. And so today is an awesome day, but our work just begins. This isn't our brand. We're going to use this as a part to build our brand. And under this mark, we're going to build a powerful brand in the NHL.
Nearly 250,000 fan submissions, Tod, that came in asking for stuff. Are you constantly staggered about the power of the sports community in Seattle?
Yeah, and I think in some way, you know, if we had started in 2020, which we originally hoped to, but then we realized, hey, the arena could lag behind, and sure enough, we wouldn't have gotten it done. It allowed us more time to really engage with the fans. And I've been a big believer in, you know, if you listen to your fans, you can't go wrong. And so David Bonderman, Jerry Bruckheimer, Andy Jazzy, we had a great group of owners who said, okay, let's listen, but part of this is interpreting. Because, hey, what does the Kraken mean to you? For most people, it lived in the theater of their mind. And so, and most people actually said, hey, I don't see it being a cartoonish figure. So this beautiful mark does live in the theater, and what a phenomenal mark. When we start thinking about game presentation, it's a dream come true. Like, our game experience should be second to none with this mark, with everything it means and how truly authentic it is.
Yeah, there's so many exciting moments to come.
Let's
take some questions from the gentlemen and ladies of the press. Chris Francis says, hello from Cairo 7 Sports. Congrats on a great unveiling. 3 questions I'm hoping can make the list. Given the NHL's return to play next week, can you talk about the importance from a marketing and team building standpoint of releasing the name now? That's the first question.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're taking them one at a time, because I actually didn't do so well on my cognitive test. All right, so let's take these one at a time. So why now? Well, some things had to come together. And first, we finished, you know, we got through this listening, and we listened for, you know, better part of 2 years. We then started to identify one brand, but we had other brands in the waiting room. But this really became our primary focus. So then you move through design, and you have to go through trademark issues, because God forbid we didn't measure twice and cut once, and the league wasn't going to let us. The league became powerful partners, ensuring that we had not only appropriate clearance on trademark, but what they call coexistence agreements. So when we got those done, we realized it was time. And then a really important thing, we wanted today to be a special day for our fans. We didn't want it to leak. And in today's world, that's hard. When we announced the Climate Pledge Arena, it didn't leak. We were able to introduce that to the world in an appropriate way. So we put high value on the idea that this wouldn't leak. And today, when we unveiled it for most of our fans, it was like opening a present under the tree.
Yeah, Christmas Day between now and the actual day itself. We have another question from Jamie Hudson with NBC Sports Northwest. How have you felt the name and logo have been received so far? How much consideration was given to the other potential popular names for the team?
Tons of potential names, given tons of consideration. You know, and in some ways it was a fatiguing process because we left no stone unturned. And we care about its initial reaction, but really the test of this brand will be what we build under it. And, you know, I'm so proud of what we've done today in the community. Our owners, David Bonderman and our owners, supported the idea that we would go on sale with a commemorative line of merchandise with 100% of the proceeds going to charity. And I feel emotion when I say that because I'm so proud to work for an organization. When you take a step today, they didn't think about monetization for our organization. They thought about how we can give back to community. So that community partners Youth Care. They're a leading organization in the nation on youth homelessness. But we're also going to make donations into marginalized communities. And I'm so proud of not just what we've done today, but our early track record on being very active and being a community activist. So good on David Bonderman and good on this ownership group.
Okay, a question from Andy E comes in now. He says, you talked about the thousands of submissions that you got. It seems like a daunting task. How and when did that process start? And what hurdles, if any, did you encounter along the way?
Well, there were a lot of submissions, and there was a lot of opinions. And the longer time went on, the more people. But, you know, it's a little bit like, you know, friends who endure. This name endured. It just kept enduring through all the processes and focus groups. And those who spoke with great passion. I know today there's some that might have chosen a different name. Give it time. This brand and this team loves you, and you will learn to love it. And, you know, I remember one weekend, it was actually a 3-day holiday, and I took home all of the names that had come through on the Seattle Times, 100,000 submissions with 1,000 unique names. And, you know, I probably went through 3 highlighter pens that weekend, and we got it down to 100, and then 20, and then 5, and then 3, and then 1.
Okay, this is Ryan Harris, a reporter from Como News Radio. Congratulations on a successful start.
Thank you.
To a great day. For the virtual conference, I'd like to ask for status updates on construction at the arena and at Northgate, as well as an update on the status for the arena and affiliate in Palm Springs. Thanks so much.
Sure. So the arena, it was such an incredible pleasure to stand there today in front of the men and the women building it. I come here week in and week out, and, you know, the admiration of if they're building this arena in these times under those conditions. You know, the iron workers, it's already hard enough, and they're wearing a mask, and they've hung in there. Our track record on safety has been impeccable. Our protocols for the COVID were used as standards. But, you know, at the end of the day, the men and women who are building it deserve enormous credit. So today we announced that the first event we will ever have in the building will be them and their families. And we announced the name of the building there, we announced the team name, and we're going to do other things because we feel amazing kindredship to these men and women. And we should. They're building the most beautiful arena in the world, the most sustainable building in the world, and we're generally on track. Not on budget. We're spending more than I think anyone thought we would, but we're doing it knowing we're building something unique and special. And early on, I would condition that saying we're building one of the most beautiful arenas in the world. I believe today it will be the most beautiful arena in the world. The only arena in a park, a beautiful exterior, a historic roof, but a brilliant interior with a tight bowl and perfect acoustics and interiors designed by one of the great interior designers, David Rockwell. We're sitting in one of his chairs right here.
They're very comfy, by the way.
I was up at Northgate 2 days ago. The steel is up. We can see the steel outline of the players' training facility, and it's going to catch people by surprise. We've focused so much on our arena, team name, but we're building what we think is one of the finest training centers in all the land. Its location is incredible, right there at Sound Transit, the last stop at the Northgate stop, but it's going to be the heart of that redevelopment, and it's a beautiful project. And that's our real home. You know, that's where the players are going to skate for the first time. That's where our first inaugural training camp will be. It's where Ron Francis's office will be. Ron Francis, our GM. That sounds as good as Seattle Kraken, but those two projects are great, and we're working on Palm Springs. We're quite hopeful. We've got that territory acknowledged by the American Hockey League, and we're putting the finishing touches on an arena deal.
Okay, this is Brett Weeks, Senior Editor and Director of Photography. He says, what was the process used to come up with the Kraken team name? Was it the most popular?
It was. I think that, you know, there's surveys, there's focus groups, but if you pressed me and said, day in and day out, what did you hear from the fans? There was no doubt that this was the name. And ultimately, it was David Bonderman who got to make the choice. When you invest the kind of money that he has in this dream, you get lots of prerogatives. But he's not a unilateral guy. He's one of the wisest, smartest people I've ever been around in my life. And at the end of the day, he and Jerry Bruckheimer and Andy Jassy and Jay Deutsch and Dave Wright and other members of our ownership group weighed in, and we landed on the right thing. But, you know, we got great owners. We have the wisdom of the Ackerley family. Ted and Chris have been terrific, and, you know, this is a time where you come back. You have to ultimately make a decision. So if this was just a popularity vote or a beauty pageant, maybe this goes on another, we had to take a decision. And it was my brother Tim who leaned over to me one day and said, you know where you need to make this announcement? In the arena. And, you know, in these times, this is not the easiest way to do it. You and I are sitting an appropriate distance apart, but our staff have done a wonderful job putting this together today under really difficult circumstance. And if we can rise in a moment like this, the Kraken brand will rise high when we're underway.
How, if anything, has the implications of COVID-19 affected any of your timelines with construction and building out the organization?
Well, we think we're going to be within weeks of our original construction target, which is really remarkable. You know, there are things we've done to the building. We've had to make it sustainable, so we've taken all the gas out of the building. It didn't slow us down. There could be some challenges. There have been some challenges on supply lines, but generally we're on target and on track with the building. Building's going to be even more beautiful than anyone thinks. We try and describe it. We have virtual reality glasses, goggles we put on. The building's going to be phenomenal, and it should be. These fans on March 1st, 2018 did something remarkable. They are the real owners of this team, and David Bonderman fully understands that. That day, 10,000 deposits in the first 10 minutes. 32,000 deposits, creating the 32nd franchise, and today we have 40,000 people in a waiting line to be one of those depositors. And we're going to take care of all those people in the waiting line. We're going to build an incredible family. And I said it today at the press conference, and I'll say it again, Seattle Kraken fans have become a force in hockey.
And you mentioned the number of fans that came out that day a couple of years ago in March, and the numbers continue to build. How do you make sure that everybody who wants to be a part of this organization, a Kraken fan, will feel like they're embodied by Seattle Kraken?
Well, we're doing that now. We're in the middle of architecting a brilliant membership plan that's going to give fans in Alaska. You know, we were granted the largest territory in the NHL. Alaska, Washington, Oregon, and part of Idaho is our primary territory. I love Alaska. I think it's a big part of the psyche of this city, and the two are so connected. Hockey's the number one sport in Alaska. We're going to work hard, and we're going to make real commitments to the Alaska hockey world, and we're going to spend time there. We will have our broadcasts there. We will have our broadcasts across Oregon. There's hockey fans throughout the Pacific Northwest, and we get to develop this territory. The Seattle Kraken, the team of the Pacific Northwest, sounds pretty good to me.
It does. And what about the ambition of the team on the ice? We were talking earlier on our program to Ron Francis, the GM, about this organization will be a salary cap team. What's the expectation on Ron and the impending head coach on the ice?
Well, we couldn't have found a better guy. Played in the league for 23 years, won the cup, played for 3 teams in his career, and was captain of each of the teams. I mean, this guy is incredible, and he deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, as the prior speaker, Cami Granato. Ron is fantastic, excuse me, and he is he's just going to lead us to the promised land. Our owners were so fantastic because they let us bring Ron on a year early. And we thought that that could be valuable, but in retrospect, it was incredibly valuable, especially given what we've gone through here. We put a scouting staff together a year earlier than most teams would have otherwise done. And it's now coming home to roost. What the work they've done, the scouting they've already done, incredibly valuable. So our sights will turn to our hockey team. And Ron's been working away, but with this now off the checklist, how are we going to build this championship team that our fans are proud of? And when the players skate on the ice, they pull this sweater on, how do we make sure that we've got the right players committed to the right goal of bringing the cup back to Seattle?
Okay, let's take a final question from Sports Business Journal, Mark Burns. He says, when will merchandise go on sale? And who were the 1 to 2 other final names that were under consideration?
Well, Mark, you'd have to get a little more wine. You'd have to get some wine in me to get into that line of questioning. And, you know, we had lots of names, and I think you can almost guess what they were. Because if we truly listen to the fans, it's pretty obvious what those names were. Merchandise does go on sale through the Fanatics website. But there's a special website, and I know you've been talking about it all day, and we couldn't be more proud. We start off selling a limited edition, a limited collection of merchandise, release the Kraken, with 100% of the net proceeds going to community. Great way to launch this brand.
Fantastic. Todd, it has been quite the morning already.
You're doing a great job, and this whole effort, you know, to do this under these conditions is really remarkable. But, you know, hearing the love of the hockey community for what we're doing here, we're going to be a great, proud team. They did such a wonderful job in Las Vegas. We're up next, and we're off to a great start. Go Seattle Kraken.